you all for coming this evening. We have a number of members of the community here who will be speaking. I'll give you the run of show, but we will start with the Reverend Dr. Leslie Braxton, who is pastor of New Beginnings, who will start us off with a prayer and with some words of wisdom. Thank you, Reverend Braxton.
Mayor Durkan, to everyone assembled here today, let me preface prayer with three points. Number one, today we experienced accountability for a law enforcement officer who brought much shame to a noble profession, and a resolute decision was made that no one is above the law, and justice is when the infraction doesn't occur on the front end and George Floyd is still alive, but at least as a consolation prize, consolation but important, that there was accountability held in this instance. Secondly, let us not celebrate things from afar and neglect things that are near. We have legislation pending in the Washington State Assembly regarding no-knock warrants, regarding uniform uses of police force, and other matters that are critical to bringing restraint and dignity and equity and law enforcement in our state. Let us be mindful of those things. And thirdly, while we celebrate accountability for former Officer Chauvin in the matter of George Floyd, right down in Tacoma where I was raised, there is still the matter of accountability for the Tacoma police officers who killed Manuel Ellis on March 3rd, 2020. The matter has been before State's Attorney General's office, Bob Ferguson, since November of last year, and he's still, quote unquote, considering all matters. Justice delayed is, in effect, justice denied. So let us not laud things from afar. Let us join Minnesota coming out of the darkness and heading toward the light. And finally, I would say to people near and far, let us tonight exhale, celebrate if you must, but let us do it with a sense of dignity. Our city has been traumatized enough. We're trying to rebirth. There's no reason for anyone to burn anything, to loot anything, to be unnecessarily confrontational. Let tonight be the beginning of a better way forward together. And if we could do that, then maybe this god-awful moment can be a seed toward a harvest of justice and real community, including police and people. With that, let us pray. God of our weary years and God of our silent tears, the God who has brought us thus far along the way, God, you who by your might has led us into the light, God, keep us forever in your path, we pray. By whatever name we know you and from whatever tradition we come, and even if, as atheists and agnostics, they don't believe in a higher being but have some sense of goodness, tonight we celebrate goodness and mercy. And so we pray tonight, God, that this moment might be an investment in aiming and straining and groping and leaning and striding toward becoming yet still a more perfect union. All persons are given equal treatment under the law, equal protection in the law, no one above the law, and that law enforcement is perceived among many as a noble creed. And so, God, we thank you for today's possibility, and we pray your presence all over America tonight. We pray for this mayor, the council, law enforcement, and people. Be with us all, and let us all behave ourselves in such a way that might make others think that we know you ourselves. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Braxton, for the moving prayer and sentiment for all of us. Today's verdict has impacted so many in our community and across our nation. Many are grieving with the trauma and pain, not just for George Floyd, but for so many lives lost. Here with us today, we have faith leaders, community leaders, city council members, our chief, our accountability partners at the Office of Police Accountability, the Office of Inspector General, and the Community Police Commission. I want to thank the many leaders here who have collectively been on the front lines working to improve policing and community safety, including CPC Commissioner Reverend Walden, who is here, also CPC Commissioner, and she's also with Mothers for Accountability. We also have CPC Commissioner, the Reverend Patricia Hunter. We have from the CPC Commissioners and co-chairs, including LaRon Baker and Aaron Goodman. From Black Lives Matter Seattle King County, we have Deaunte Damper and Cliff Cawthon. Michelle Merriweather from the Urban League, Monisha Harrell from Equal Rights Washington, and a Deputy Monitor, Lisa Judge from the Office of Inspector General, Andrew Meyerberg from OPA, and we're joined by two council members, Lisa Herbold and Council President Gonzalez. We stand here collectively on behalf of so many community members who are not in this room. Each of us brings with us our own words and our own wisdom, and that's why I'm so happy and filled with gratitude that these members were able to join us today. Today in Minneapolis, 12 jurors and our system of justice confirmed what we saw with our own eyes. George Floyd was murdered, and Derek Chauvin violated his most solemn duty to protect lives and uphold the law. The cruel and degrading murder of Mr. Floyd shook our nation. But for too many Black Americans, his murder was just a reflection of their reality. Let there be no question, George Floyd should still be here, and our work for justice is far from done. In the weeks since this trial, in fact, Deaunte Wright was stopped and died at the hands of police just miles from where the trial was occurring. True justice demands that we admit, recognize, and work to address the racial systemic inequities that have led to these and too many tragedies. True justice, as the Reverend said, would mean that George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Eric Garner, and countless others were still with us. We must demand better from our community and across this nation. But the jurors in Minneapolis did render a portion of justice, and for that we're thankful. Our country must acknowledge and work to dismantle the reality of institutional racism and its insidious impacts on all aspects of our society, including policing. Over the past year, we have made systemic changes in Seattle, including new alternatives to policing and historic investments in Black, Indigenous, and communities of color. We know that lasting change comes not just from reimagining the role of police in our communities, but from investing in our communities from the ground up. True public safety starts with investments in high-quality childcare and early learning, and creating a pathway for all children to good-paying jobs and a future where they can be anything they want when they grow up, not if they grow up. We must replace generational trauma and injustice with generational opportunity and justice. This work is critical to creating a future where true community safety is a reality for everyone, and not just a goal or an ideal. Our community has been through a lot of pain and grief in this last year. In the coming days, many community members will peacefully come together to remember the life of Mr. Floyd, express themselves, and experience community with one another to determine how we continue in our quest for justice. Tonight, our faith leaders and people across this city will be holding a moment of silence and a citywide moment of prayer at 7 p.m. As always, we will do all we can to protect the cherished right to assemble and express First Amendment rights. We'll also maintain public safety, protect people, and protect the safety of every community. I'm now going to hand it over to Chief Diaz and Chief Scoggins, who can provide an update on preparations that SPD has to facilitate safe and peaceful gatherings today and in the coming days.
Thank you, Mayor, for those heartfelt words. I and the entire Seattle Police Department join you and the entire community in our commitment to addressing inequities in policing, the justice system, and across society. I know, apologize, I'm gonna have to move that down. I know it is a soul-crushing moment for so many people to watch what we all saw 1 year ago for so many different reasons. People of color in this country saw something they had seen time and time again, and were fearful the outcome would be the same. Others were confronted with the reality of what can happen when power is abused. It shook any confidence that they had in our legal system and at some level society. And I know myself and other police officers were distraught at the loss of life and the utter abandoning of our principles and values. That officers stood there and watched, that kept their help away, and he kept him with his knee on his neck for 9 minutes and 29 seconds. Today's verdict is an indication that change and justice are possible. The Seattle Police Department has made and will continue to make significant changes to how we provide public safety to the people of the city. You have my commitment that we will continue to focus on all we do, affirming the humanity of every member of this community, that we will work together to build an equitable and fair model of public safety that helps our communities thrive, and that we have healthy and expertly trained members of the Seattle Police Department to deliver the service the community needs in a way that we expect them. I understand that many will feel the need to stand in solidarity with each other, with the family of George Floyd, and with the families of all of those who have been killed both in the past few weeks and in the past years. I support you. The SPD supports you. We ask, and I ask, that these gatherings be safe and peaceful. We can acknowledge justice, we can demand justice, and we can do both while respecting the rights and safety of others. We will have officers out, contingencies of officers, just to make sure that our streets are safe, that our community is safe, and we will support any level of First Amendment rights of free speech. If there is acts of violence, we will address those acts of violence. But I ask for peaceful, I ask for calm, and I will turn it over to Chief Scoggins.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Harold Scoggins, Fire Chief of the Seattle Fire Department. I would like to thank our mayor, our council members for being here, all of our community members for being here, and I would like to also acknowledge Carolyn Riley Payne of the Seattle King County chapter of the NAACP to make sure she's acknowledged here. Personally, for me, it was a day of relief and a day of belief. And that verdict, that's what it resonated with me as a person, as a black man, who have seen many of these situations not end with relief or belief. So it's relief because hopefully it brings calm and peace to our community, and belief because hopefully it restores belief in our justice system. So today was a very important and critical moment, and many of these things have happened over my 55 years that have not always ended this way. But I do want the community to know that your Seattle Fire Department stands ready to support this community. If you get together for gatherings or marches or protests, we stand ready to support the community as they express their First Amendment rights. But we do want to ask a couple of things of the community. To please remember that we're still in the middle of a pandemic, and if you go out in large groups, please wear your face mask and bring hand sanitizer to wash your hands and do your best to maintain safe distances. But if these events are happening and people become ill or injured, we're asking the community to make your way to the edges of the marches or protests or gatherings so you can get out of the crowd, so when you call 911, we can actually locate you and find you. To the business owners, we've seen a lot of activity over the last week or so with boarding up buildings and different things like that. You know, your Seattle Fire Department is asking a couple of things of you. Making sure your addresses are still visible, so if we have to respond, we can actually find your address. Making sure your standpipes are still exposed, so if there was an event that took place, we could actually access those standpipes there. All those things are really important. And if you have dumpsters or trash cans or different things like that, making sure they're locked or taken out of the public access ways so people can't grab them and do things with them. So those are our ask of the community. But, you know, today is a day of relief and belief for me. Next, I would like to invite up Council President Lorena Gonzalez.
Well, good evening, everyone. I want to thank Mayor Durkan for bringing us all together today in this very important, solemn moment. And I also want to just say how humbled and honored I am to be in the presence of so many amazing community leaders here in the Bertha Knight Landis room this afternoon. It's been a while since we've all been able to gather, and so I just want to appreciate the moment of being able to come together to speak as one city family on the importance of this verdict. Seattle, like the rest of the country, has been anticipating the jury's verdict in the murder trial of George Floyd. For weeks, we have all tuned into the trial seeking to hold former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin accountable for the killing of Mr. Floyd, which sparked a global racial reckoning and this civil rights moment here in Seattle and beyond. The verdict finding former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin guilty of all 3 charges is welcome news, but we know that it will not bring George Floyd back to his family. And we know that far too often police killings of Black, Brown, and Indigenous members of our communities have resulted in no justice or systemic change at all. Indeed, we live in 2 different Americas, where our access to community safety is unfortunately often determined by our skin color. The status quo of America's criminal legal system too often fails to deliver meaningful justice to Black, Indigenous, and people of color communities. The murder of George Floyd is still painful for so many people, regardless of this conviction. And elected officials across the country must remain committed to justice and just systems that meet the needs of, not perpetuate, the inequities of Black Americans in our communities. Justice, of course, is not achieved or lost in a single trial. True justice will only be won when BIPOC individuals are safe from police brutality and the oppressive systems of institutionalized racism that prevent fair and equal access to safety, opportunity, and prosperity. As our community members begin to process and react to this conviction, I urge us all to peacefully demonstrate and to refrain from violence and destruction in our community. Let's hold each other in community, protect each other, express our sentiments here, but refrain from violence and destruction. And I really, again, hope that folks will peacefully demonstrate if that's what they choose to do. And I appreciate Chief Scoggins and Chief Diaz being with us today to explain exactly how they're preparing to make sure to protect people's First Amendment rights. Without further ado, it is my pleasure to hand the podium over to Reverend Harriett Walden, who's been a longtime advocate in our community.
Good afternoon. My name is Reverend Walden, and today I'm speaking for Mothers for Police Accountability. This is a 30-year odyssey. 30 years ago, Rodney King was beat, and it was the first time a camera was used. And we did not get the justice for Rodney King. And all of the other times that the camera was used, people had the nerves and the courage to photograph police brutality and to put it out in the public so that people can see that. But today is a good day for justice in America. It's a good day for the African American community who carry the collective sorrow in our system, in our body, in our bones. And someone mentioned today, one of the Floyd family members was so gracious today to mention the first one. He mentioned Emmett Till. I was 9 years old when I saw Emmett Till's picture in the Jet magazine. So we're talking about a collective sorrow that we carry. And last week was a hard week for a lot of African Americans and other people, but especially people in the media. And so today, absolutely. I mean, the verdict was a right verdict. It was a righteous verdict. It was a necessary verdict. It was a verdict that was necessary to be able to turn America right again, to say, yes, we can do this. We can understand. We can call for justice for everybody. We, the police department, the police officers work for us. They're our employees. We have a right. We have a right to have police accountability. We have a right to actually see how to have a statement about our employees. We have to understand that they work for us. We pay their wages, and it's our responsibility to hold them accountable. And this has been a whole generation that's gone along, all the people who've been murdered in America by the hands of police. And every place where there's been a consent decree, it's been lots of people murdered, and the murder continue. So this is a good day. Let's take this day and see how we can right America, how we can say, yes, live up to those words in the Constitution. And we, as African Americans, the descendants of enslaved human beings, have been here longer than most white people. We've been here before the Civil War. That's how long we've been here. And you check that out. And now it's time. It is time for a new beginning. Mr. Floyd's mother came and she answered. Whenever a mother calls, whenever children call the mother, no matter how old the mother is or how young the mother is, a mother always got up to see when her children called. Mr. Floyd called out for his mother, although she was beyond the veil. She came and got her son. We don't know how long his knee might have been on his neck if he had not died at 9 minutes and some seconds. So today, they are rejoicing on the other side of the veil, and they are together. And this is a good day for justice in America. Thank you. And I'm going to call up the co-chair of the Community Police Commission, Ms. Lorena Baker.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lorena Baker, and I'm one of the co-chairs of the Seattle Community Police Commission. And today is not a moment of celebration. It is the best outcome that could have come from a horrible situation and centuries of violent policing of Black and brown bodies and communities. The conviction will not bring George Floyd back, nor will it bring back Seattle community members who've been killed by police violence. What this is, though, is a moment and an opportunity, not just for Minneapolis, but for Seattle and every community across the country, to reassess and scrutinize law enforcement's use of force and how we hold police accountable when they kill community members. It is also the time to center the community's voice in redefining public safety and how we approach public safety and developing policing practices and policies that are consistent with our community's vision regarding public safety. The Community Police Commission looks forward to doing this work in a meaningful way with the City of Seattle and the Seattle Police Department, and we look forward to days of more justice coming out. Thank you. And I will introduce Seattle, King County, Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter, Seattle, King County, Deaunte Damper.
Thank you. Today we watched justice happen. But when we talk about the impacts of our community, we need to continue to make sure that we're talking about accountability. We still are mourning the deaths of Sharnita Lyles, Sean Fuhrer, who was murdered in front of with his baby in his hand with police. We still need accountability in the spaces of our city council members who may invest money into building police departments in the North End, but not invested in the spaces of holding our police accountable. I stand here standing for those community members that are asking for that accountability. And yes, community, please be safe, but don't stop. Don't let this be the thing that stops you from having the conversation with holding your city council representatives accountable, our community members such as myself accountable. And I could keep on going, but my hand's shaking, so I'm gonna stop now. But I do want to thank, I would like to take the time to thank one of my mentors in this space and introduce her to the stage, Ms. Carolyn Riley Payne for Seattle King County NAACP. Thank you.
Good evening. Mayor, City Council, leaders, how many press conferences do we have to have? How many times do we have to say the same thing? We are heartened by the verdict today. Hopefully it's going to bring some peace to the family, some calm to the community. But Seattle, King County, we have a lot and a long way to go. This is no time to celebrate. Yes, we are happy for the family and for that community because that community is going through a lot. It tells you something about what people think about you when you have a celebration, you're in court getting ready to get a verdict, people are protesting, and 10 miles away, another man, black man, gets shot. This is no time for celebration. This is a time for action. We want to have our people, the people, everybody's name, you've heard them. We don't want to forget their names because we don't want to forget what happened to them. We have a responsibility to them to hold ourselves accountable, community, as well as the police. Reverend Walden said they work for us. But when you are an employer, then you have some responsibilities also. And so as the employers, we as a community must hold ourselves up also. But we cannot have another black person die. I want to say black man, but I don't want anybody to die. But we have a responsibility. We have to do the laws. It's one thing to get out, and what happens is we march, we tear up everything around us, and everybody runs and gets in a room and starts talking about, oh my goodness, what are we going to do? Businesses get upset because their businesses are ruined. So what we have to start doing is passing laws that impact systemic racism. We have to put people in places that make decisions, that have a compassionate heart, that understand what it means to be in service and to work for. Then we can then start moving on. We have a lot to do. Because we know that we have a lot of work to do, we must start today. We can't wait till tomorrow, because tomorrow the press will be gone, one or two will show up to cover the black community and what's going on. Make a commitment today, each and every one of us, before we leave this room. What are you going to do to make it better? Don't expect somebody else to do it. Don't say, where is the NAACP? Ask yourself, what can I do to help the NAACP? Don't say, oh, that's them. No, it's not them, it's a us, because it's us that's in this together. So I thank the mayor for having this opportunity for us to come together as a community to try to heal ourselves, because we are hurting just as much as the people across the country. And because we are hurting, we have to find a way to heal. So Seattle, King County, let's get busy. Let's make this a positive impact on our community, and let's work together. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. I was supposed to introduce the mayor, right?
We did a little order shift.
Oh, it was an order shift. Okay, all right.
Thank you so much.
Well, you forgot.
I forgot your name.
Oh boy, it is good to be here on this important day. It has been a long time since we've all been together, and I'm happy to be here with my Seattle family. It's been a little less than a year since George Floyd's murder was televised around the world. His death raised the consciousness of an entire population to the realities of violence and death faced by Black and brown people in this country when they come into contact with law enforcement. Those who watched and protested his murder and the murders of countless other people of color by law enforcement, both before and after, have created a racial reckoning and a civil rights movement of global proportions to ensure that we all see, feel, and insist that Black lives matter. George Floyd's murder at the hands of a police officer will, in perpetuity, serve as the flashpoint for a painful, dramatic, and very, very necessary shift in the way that this city and our nation have allowed institutionalized racism to thrive. True justice for George Floyd will not be attained with this verdict. No verdict will restore George Floyd's life. No verdict will heal the feelings of powerlessness in the young people who we all watched courageously do everything that they could do as bystanders to stop the loss of life caused by the adult authority figures right in front of them. No verdict can replace the love Mr. Floyd gave to his family and friends, and no verdict can make up for the countless verdicts that came before when Black men and women were killed by police and their killers did not face justice. I call for any demonstrations over the next few weeks to be peaceful and nonviolent in a way that honors both Mr. Floyd's name and the movement's legacy as change agents for the next generation. I call for the police department to not interfere with peaceful protest and adhere to the new Seattle Police Department crowd management policies promulgated by Chief Diaz that include reducing presence when safe and feasible, providing media, legal observers, and protest medics safe avenues to carry out their important roles, de-escalation, communication, and isolating individuals who are taking unlawful actions in otherwise lawful crowds. It's long past time that we address the racial injustice and systemic problems with policing and the legal system. We at this time in this country, we must find a way to channel the demands of protest into policy that builds true community safety. Today's announcement requires us to be steadfast in that commitment. And I just want to say a little bit of what's in my heart right now. Watching the family of George Floyd with all of the grace of their hearts and their loss express their gratitude today really hurt my heart. It hurt my heart because I want this country and I want our city to be a place where you don't have to be grateful for a verdict, but instead you expect to be heard by police when a Black man, a Black woman, a child says they can't breathe or holds their hands up and shows that they do not have a weapon, or a community member is seeking help in a mental health crisis. That should be the expectation of our city and of our nation, and that is the call for justice today. Thank you. Mayor Durkan.
Thank you to everyone. As we called people together on short notice, and until I saw who was all here, I realized that I had not mentioned Carolyn Riley Payne, who is herself, not just in her role of NAACP, but in Seattle, has been such a force for justice and civil rights. And Victoria Beach, who's also able to join us that I didn't see until after I spoke. I want to acknowledge her. She's been on the African American Advisory Committee. She's done a whole range of things in service of our community. I also just want to echo how far we have to go and how it is true that while there was a verdict that was right, that's the lowest bar for justice. You know, and as I was a kid, I saw great civil rights leaders, including the former John Lewis, trying just to get across a bridge, and they were stopped. We have so far to go, but we know we have to go, and we can only do it collectively together with the voices we have behind us, but the voices that have been in the streets here and across this nation. So we are thankful for this measure of justice, but we cannot give up our quest for justice. And with that, if anyone has questions for me or any of the other members who have spoken here. Mr. Salisbury.
Yeah, I had two questions. My first question, ma'am, was for Chief Diaz. Chief Diaz, as someone who came to the streets almost 1 year ago, when people were horrified by this murder of George Floyd, and who was out there in the Seattle protest, and you know, as a member of the media, as well as the protesters, as well as the residents, as well as the people impacted who lived on Capitol Hill, as well as the hundreds of thousands of people who were impacted through vicarious trauma through watching these streams. We came to the streets in George Floyd's name. Today there's been a verdict in George Floyd. Sir, what can you say? Almost 1 year later, what's Seattle Police Department's commitment? What have you learned from the Seattle protests and this incredible amount of police violence that not only, like I said, members of the media, protesters, residents, and even vicariously citizens of Seattle, they saw and were impacted by the Seattle Police Department?
You know, I think you've hit everything. Everything has been the impact that we've felt from the community. We got to do better. We cannot just stand on what we've done. While we've made some very big inroads over the years and working, you know, with Reverend Walden on a lot of different changes throughout our history, we've got to do more. We've got to meet the expectations of our community. And I feel, you know, I've worked in community. I've been there with a lot of members to try and make sure that we make change internally. I have this opportunity to lead, and I am going to continue to hold our department accountable. I'm going to continue to making sure that we are constantly changing, even just as even how we respond to protests. We've seen a massive change in the way how we are actually going to respond, how we're going to deal with it. We need to make sure that we honor people's First Amendment rights. We also have to make sure that I cannot let the city burn as well. And so right now, we are going to continue to make those improvements, and we're going to do better. And I want to make sure that I hold our department accountable to the exact issues that Minneapolis is facing, to the issues that we in Seattle have faced over the years. We have looked at all of our, you know, we want to make sure that we are doing it better so we do not have an officer-involved shooting that takes a life unexpectedly, tragically, and that's what that is what I'm going to strive for. And I know that it might not fix the issues right now, but that is what I'm going to move forward.
Ma'am, I had a follow-up question for you, Mayor Durkan. You know, when we talk about policing here, and a lot of times the conversation goes away from Seattle. We hear, of course, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, but you know, we don't often hear Charlene Allows, Deaunte. That being said, ma'am, it's been said here twice now by two different speakers that the police work for us, but a lot of times it seems like this police contract is between SPOG and maybe people in this building. What is your commitment that yes, the police get a fair contract, but the citizens of Seattle get an even fairer contract with the police?
It's 100% commitment, and I think you know, Mr. Salisbury, that I've been working on police accountability issues for decades. Not as long as your mom, but it takes time, and as the first citizen observer to the Seattle Police Department Firearms Review Board, I sat in on every single police shooting. The first time anyone that wasn't a police officer in a room. That led to changes. The changes have been too incremental. We need to insist, not just here, but in Olympia. For example, we had hoped this year that the legislature would pass a law that gave that changed arbitration, which has led to the reinstatement of bad police officers in 50% of the time across this nation. That's unfinished business, and until they finish that business, we can't do it here. But we have to continue to hold our police accountable. And it's not just coming from City Hall. We've seen a lot of this accountability, most of this accountability, coming from mothers and others who've said, we won't take this anymore, from the voices in the street to the media covering it. I believe we may have had a different verdict in Minneapolis if a young girl hadn't had the courage to film it and post it. And we need to make sure every police officer in the country is wearing a body cam every time. We need to make sure that media has access. We need transparency itself will lead to more accountability, but it has to come from every aspect. We are setting the parameters now for the Seattle Police contract. We've heard from community for the first time. The CPC, the OPA, and the OIG will be in the room to help us set those parameters and speak for community. And we hope that we will have a contract that continues to improve on accountability. Thank you.
Hi, Paul Keeper, Coca-Cola. I have a question for Chief Diaz first, and I'll have a follow-up question.
Perfect.
Hello, Chief Diaz. Hello. So if I recall correctly, last year, SPD began a process of reviewing what functions could be transferred away from police officers themselves, not the department, but the officers themselves. Would you be able to offer a progress report on that internal review, specifically about how one could shift crisis response duties away from officers, bearing in mind the urgency expected by such a substantial portion of the community?
Yeah, I mean, I think honestly there are a couple areas that we've been discussing and working on a variety of issues. Number one, crisis response is obviously at the forefront of it. Our mental health systems are tapped. I mean, it takes 6 months for a child to get mental health services should they need them. So making a quick transition to a community-based organization to be able to do that work is really just, we have to take time and we have to make sure that we do it right. And so as we start to work towards, transitioning some of that work, it might be a little process. It's not going to happen overnight. I think there's already work in the homeless community that has done. We've created some investments in outreach. The city council's done that. The mayor's supported that. And so you've seen less officers being present and being engaged in that work. So I think that there are some areas that are we're constantly changing and evaluating where we can actually get community investments. And there's also partnerships. We've also got to figure out how do we partner and create an ability to respond to even how we address violence when it comes to shootings and youth being shot and killed. And so that's where sometimes a partnership could occur, where we might end up handling the investigative side, the criminal side, but how do we create those investments to ensure that we don't have retaliatory shootings or we don't have other additional violence that might stem from that? And that work is ongoing, an ongoing process.
And a follow-up question for you and then the CPC co-chairs, if I may. How would you respond to the concerns that were voiced by the CPC today that their input and the input of the public weren't given due consideration in the process of adjusting SPD's crowd management and use of force policies? And how might they change? How might public input and CPC input change in the future?
Yeah, we constantly we ask for community input. We've asked for CPC, OIG, OPA, a variety of different other partners to ensure that we have best practices and how we respond to crowd management situations. And there are some things that we can do and some things that sometimes, whether it's legal or sometimes the tactical side of it might not be able to be applied. And so that we are evaluating every aspect of that. And so that could evolve and change as we go through a specific policy. When it comes to like use of force, when it comes to how we respond and how we deploy maybe a crowd management tool, those are all things that we are constantly evaluating right now.
Do the CPC co-chairs have any want to add to the letter that y'all put out today?
And I was having a little bit of a hard time actually hearing your question, but my understanding is you were asking about the SPD's lack of incorporating all of our recommendations, and you want to know what CPC's position is.
Yeah, thank you.
We certainly put a lot of effort into getting community input, and our policy analysts providing recommendation over the years for many changes that SPD could have to their policies and practices, including recently providing input on use of force policies and previously providing input on crowd control policies. Tomorrow we are actually launching a recommendation tracker that will be open to the public so that the public can actually see all of the recommendations that we've made, which ones SPD has implemented on, which ones they've said they will not do, and which ones they just have not committed to taking action on, for further transparency between what may be a disconnect between what community expects when it comes to policing and what SPD is currently doing or how they've responded to recommendations. So we are looking forward. The CPC has considerably new leadership. We just brought on a new executive director. We have new co-chairs. We're staffed up in our policy team for the first time in a long time, and so we're looking forward for more robust and thorough discussions with SPD going forward. Thanks.
I just want to follow up, Mr. Salisbury, and also on the question you asked from Publicola is, the other thing we have to make sure we do in the city is we have put in place a very robust system of accountability with OPA, OIG, and the CPC. We have to trust them and fund them and give them the job they need to be done. And I think that we saw in this last year ways that we needed to improve as a city to build that resource, but also in ways that they were able. For example, in the very early on in the protests when the use of tear gas was questioned, I immediately asked the OIG and OPA to do a review and make recommendations because it was clear that the force we saw was disproportionate and we had to do better. So I think that all of these systems have to work together and we have to build that ability for them to be empowered to do their work. Any other questions? Chris.
It's actually a follow-up for Chief Diaz, just based on what I heard from
this is my kind of press conference.
What's that? Based on what I heard from the mayor and from Carolyn Riley Payne and from Reverend Leslie Braxton about the need for reform in Olympia. Obviously, reform in Seattle is one thing, but have you called any lawmakers in Olympia to say you would back any of the bills for police reform on a state level?
Yeah, actually, many of the proposals in the tactics bill are all things that we're currently already have implemented. Whether it's no-knock warrants, it is chokeholds, neck holds, etc. We've already have changed all of those tactics, and it's all incorporated into our policies. So if they do make some transitions at the state level, much of it is stuff that we're currently already doing. And we do evaluate I think our policy in regards to pursuits is actually in alignment with the proposals. So that is what we're constantly trying to strive for, is just making sure that we see the evolution of policing and where we need to adjust and how do we adjust quickly. So yes, and then right now we're training on a lot of those policies, updating how we respond in de-escalation and making sure that we continuously, actually one of the things that came up because of one of the officer-involved shootings in Minnesota, the use of taser. We constantly train on that. We've trained it actually in the last quarter of 2020. We're training in the next 2 months, and we work through all of those things to ensure that we don't have accidents or any other issues that could occur. And so we need to make sure that our officers have the ability to continuously train, because many of our skills could be perishable. And can be perishable, and so we need to constantly get people up to speed to making sure that we de-escalate every situation.
Any other questions? Thank you very much for coming. I really want to thank everyone on very short schedules and a very difficult time. I can't close a moment with the press without saying we are still deep in a pandemic. And even with this good weather and more people getting vaccinations, we're starting to see an uptick. There's a good chance that King County could pass the threshold that would require us to go backwards. No one wants to do that. So please, when you're in public, even if you're vaccinated, please wear your mask. Keep your distance when you can. Don't have gatherings with people. But tonight at 7 o'clock, I hope everyone takes a moment, not just to pause and think about George Floyd and his family, but to reflect on how we as a city can do better and continue in our quest for justice. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.